Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Total Value Locked podcast. I'm your host, Chris, the DeFi professor. I've got a great show lined up for you today. Different time for the show. Unfortunately, I overslept. I just had we're going to talk about this. I had a really weird dream. I've been having some really weird dreams. Not really sure how to describe it, but with our guest today, who you all know and love, we're going to decipher some of this. So, got Logan back, LF Null, Nebraska boys here in the digital heartland. How are you, sir?
Doing good, Chris. I'm bad, really. It's kind of a rough day, to be honest. I mean, inside I'm good. I'm feeling strong. I'm pushing forward, but it kind of feels like, I don't know, something like shifted or broke. You just mentioned you slept in. I slept for like 12 hours. I don't know what happened. It's weird. I don't know what happened. I had a terrible nightmare. And I woke up like in a sweat. And then I proceeded for the rest of the day to just get like bad luck. And then everyone's telling me, man, I had like a weird sleep and I had this bizarre dream. It's like, are we sleeping right now?
Did you guys get any rain?
Oh, it absolutely dumped. And it's been
Okay,
just
good.
overcast. And it's cold here. I might actually throw on a hoodie.
Yeah, it is. It was 61 overnight, which is,
right?
obviously not. Yeah, for August, that's freezing. I saw people walking around in. No, I know, but I saw people walking around in puffy jackets yesterday. I'm like, what is wrong with you people? And then I stepped outside. I'm like, oh, it is a little chilly. But still, I didn't think it was that cold.
I went on a walk with the old wifester, and she was shivering.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
It's one of those days, man. One of them days.
It just is. Can't deny it. I mean, you can.
So yeah, you mentioned that you had I wouldn't say I had a nightmare, but I'm going to explain something that has been happening. And that is, I've been watching a lot of videos over the last, let's call it 2 years, on people who can channel other civilizations, right? If you ever watch some of these things with, some of these groups that are out there, I think Stephen Bennett had somebody on. There are a couple other groups that had some people on that can channel disease, and some of these other groups that are out there. Interesting messages that come out of all that, but the same, pardon me,
Hold on, Chris,
symptom.
I'm sorry.
Oh, don't do that.
Genghis Khan. I am from the past. The Mongolian Empire. Vote yes on clarity.
Well, that is unfortunately not the group you need to be talking to. You should channel into the upper chamber of the Senate, because clearly they give no shits about bringing that to a floor vote. Senator John Thune has again refused to bring clarity to the floor to vote for cloture today. And I don't know. He's had months to do this. Guys. And he hasn't done it. They were thinking about doing it this week. I saw some scoopies that possibly there's some new concessions being done on the ethics side, but I don't. At this point, I've been bearish the entire time on the process of getting clarity passed. I was fairly hopeful last week and the week before that, and They've got what, 2 days before the August recess, and I don't think they're going to get it done.
We got until Friday. Well, it's an overcast day. Clarity is not what I see looking out the window, unfortunately. It's a rough one. Nightmares, lost USBs, cold cards, cold weather, cold clarity vote. Are we having just one of those days?
Yeah, it's like a case of the Mondays or something like that.
Except
right?
On a Wednesday? Yeah, something happened.
That's what it feels like. So let's kind of dig into that before we start getting into any of the news. I feel like something has changed. If you woke up this morning and you feel like something's weird, like I don't normally oversleep without even catching. I mean, I overslept and didn't catch an alarm, and I have 2 of them set for like 4 hours ago, which is like not like me. So
I can
I
vouch
was
for this,
having
Chris,
a
around the clock.
yeah,
I know
yeah.
it.
So I was having a dream, and I often have, and this is some some personal stuff. I often have dreams where I'm saving the world, whether through like a
Super
James Bond
Chris.
kind of thing, or like Nick Cage and The Rock or something like that. Or I'm in like an interstellar. I'm like an interstellar traveler doing some quantum leap kind of stuff, right? Um, I unfortunately don't remember everything about the thing from last night, but that's been kind of a pattern that I remember snippets, right? And that's where my clairvoyancy comes in. Like I'll be somewhere and I'm like, I have seen this place in my dreams somehow, and I'd never been there before. Um, it's been a couple months since I had that feeling, but I had it recently when I walked into a building uh, that I never walked in before, and I was like, I've been here before. I just don't know
Which
how.
Matrix moment?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, right? Because there's I I'm a big history buff, and I was just seeing that there was it's not a new thing, right? People are like, this is the seventh dimension of, so and so. Um, the Wachowski girls have now come out saying that the Matrix is just a retelling of the biblical stories, just in a different medium. So,
I
hearing
literally
that,
had get hauled off like this at one point in the
exactly.
third.
I mean, like the whole thing
And it
about,
could have been more on the
the
nose.
Zion, it's called Zion, right? The civilization
Yes. I
being the
mean,
seventh
a couple
generation of
on the
Zion, the
nose.
seventh time they've tried the
Yeah.
experiment.
You are the one, right? Who are they talking about? The Son of God. I mean, we could go into a Matrix analysis, but I'm gonna need to like unjack first.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, it's just like it's just interesting to see a whole lot of like, I don't know. I'm just like I'm very conflicted and confused this morning because again, I don't oversleep like that. I'm
And
definitely the
I'm
type
a
of
very
person who doesn't do the same thing
functioning.
twice, so that will never happen
That's
again.
not
Um,
either.
but yeah,
Yeah,
when
right.
I awake from some of these dreams, as you mentioned, and you can talk about your experience for a second, is that I woke up just like completely like sweating, and a lot of these channelers, I guess would be the word to use, that are vessels for other people to communicate. Often when they're done, they feel exhausted, they feel tired, and they're also very hot because kind of like when you use an appliance and you overuse it for a significant amount of time. Once you unplug it, it's like super hot. It's very warm, and you're trying to figure out exactly what the hell just happened. And that's kind of how I felt. And generally my wife just noticed that I was 5 minutes over. She's like, "Don't you have a show?" And I'm like, "Ah, oh, how did that happen?" And then I was just so disoriented. I was like, and I was about to tell her something that was a continuation of my dream, and then I realized I'm not dreaming. So there's no point in me talking about it. But still, I mean, Logan, I think you said you've had some similar things. So when you have your nightmares, are they world impacting in a way, or is it just something different?
No, and I don't have nightmares. I don't have dreams. I sleep like a teenage boy, really soundly. I fall asleep. I'm middle aged, but I sleep like a baby. And I
Mm-hmm.
sleep a long time. I don't wake up in the middle of the night. But last night, I don't even want to talk about it. Actually, what the
That's
topic
fine.
was. I mean, I'm happy to talk about having had this nightmare. It was really intense. It was like personal with my wife and I, but it was like
Okay.
weird. And it was really, really emotionally vivid and intense. And I remember it very clearly as though it was real, and woke up feeling as though I actually had the experience. Had a wet night shirt on. I had to change clothes and go back to bed. And it was so unusual for me. It was cold last night. We had the window open. And so I shouldn't have been hot or anything. And then you mentioned it. And I had a couple other people mention this to me. My wife also had a very strange dream, probably because she's sleeping next to me, like thrashing or something. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, what the heck just happened? And then clarity's going on. I feel like Mr. Magoo today. I haven't been able to get any work done all morning. I was looking for a USB up and down. I got a bad email, and I'm a science guy. I love science, and I know that there are systems that are bigger than we can see. I like to think of it as physics that we don't understand, or some kind of chaotic order. So I'm not going to say that I worshipped the quartz crystal and that Jupiter is in retrograde or something, but if I were that type of person, that is what I would say right now. Something weird happened. It was like a big click last night. I can't describe it. But again, I don't want to get all foo-foo on the audience here, because that's not my steez. I'm more of a look at the numbers and data type. But man, you can't ignore the heart.
Something's weird.
When you wake up.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the rest of the day goes.
I'm curious if anyone of our little audience right now, hi guys, I just want to talk to you personally just for a second. Did you have a weird dream last night? Or are we crazy? Feel free to tell us how nuts we are on a scale of 13 to 27 in the comments. All right.
A specific number. Speaking of numbers, we're tracking upwards. Again, ETH is outperforming BTC. I think there's a lot. We'll talk about why there's issues with BTC right now. And I think there's just a lot of unrest, if I'm being honest. ETH not having that issue, but ETH is soundly outperforming BTC right now with fear and greed above 30. So are people dreaming of bull markets? I don't know. But there's a lot of interference, I think would be the word to use. I think there's a lot of misdirection happening. The fact that Coinbase and a bunch of other groups bought a significant amount of BTC last week is interesting.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So this is while you were in Vegas for Rare Evo. What we will talk about for a quick second is the latest on what's gone on with Coldcard. So let's talk about this a little bit, because even though I talked about it at length on Friday for Beat the Banks, and that's every Friday at 3 if you want to catch that on my socials. So here's the interesting part about the Coldcard thing. I don't use a Coldcard. In fact, I don't know anyone who does. So CoinKite is a Canadian company. I mean, there are a lot of people clearly who had bought one. I'm not a fan of Bitcoin only wallets. That's just me personally. It doesn't mean you can't have one. But for me, I would rather, because I diversify more my portfolio, I would never just be in Bitcoin. And obviously shout out to the maxis out there. But one thing we preach in our content is the idea of overinvesting in any one channel, right? You don't want to be just in stocks. You don't want to be just in dividends, in mutual funds, in real estate, in tokens, in crypto, whatever. You don't want to be in that one spot, because if something happens and then you're like, I've lost my life savings, my first question would be like, why did you just put it all in Bitcoin? Same thing I would have said if there's a hurricane and I just lost all my investments. I would have been like, why did you just have it all in distressed properties in an area that is prone to destruction, right?
Something, eggs in one basket, something.
Exactly, right? And I get it, because for a lot of these people, and I said this on Friday, they thought they were doing the right thing. Now, the ironic part, and I don't have the tweet up, is that the generations of the Coldcard that aren't being swept are the ones that are running firmware old enough that it's based off the old code from Trezor, because Coldcard forked Trezor's code and then quote unquote enhanced it to make it to whatever Coldcard is now. Which of course they're right, because Trezor is an open source project, right? Now, this is the side effect of something like this, and I feel terrible for this user. Basically what happened is that They had 6 plus BTC. They heard about the hack. They're in panic mode because they thought they only rolled dice a couple times for the entropy. Excuse me, the additional entropy on top of what they had there. Because Trezor has what's called the 25th word. You can have a secret passphrase, introduce other pieces of entropy to help continue to randomize your wallet. Decided to move all funds in a hurry, went to the App Store to download Wasabi Wallet, which I later discovered was a scam. 24-word seed phrase, create a new wallet, send a test phrase.
No.
Yeah, sent the rest of the stack. Next day, everything was gone. So that's the sad part. The problem is, guys, there's no such thing as a legitimate Wasabi wallet on the Apple App Store. Okay. So I'm going to unpack this piece here. And this is something we talk about all the time in our content. You never, ever trust a wallet that you can download from a third-party app store. If you're going to use a wallet, like I've done with my ecosystem tours, both for Solana and for Base, you go directly to the manufacturer of that wallet to get the software. Never go to your operating system app store. You should never assume that those are all completely safe unless you have been directed there directly from the manufacturer. That is OPSEC 101. And I feel bad because this is not the first person that's going to lose their money this way. They panicked. They probably saved themselves from being targeted, but yeah,
they ran into the open arms of a predator who just had its jaws gaping, waiting for them to run out of the water.
And once you're in this case, there is nothing that's going to bring those funds back because those bad actors waiting for you, like all the support emails, like the number of people who follow me that are quote unquote support for some project is insane. Like they hear them, like I talked about Kintara on an episode not that long ago. Suddenly I had like 6 people follow me that are part of quote unquote Kintara player support. You know, it's just one of those things that you just have to be very careful for. So
it's like if you're a big whale in the ocean, you get barnacles.
Exactly. And I get notified all the time for all kinds of different projects that say I have an airdrop and stuff like that and put a link here. Guys, those are all fake. There is no reason that a random project is going to tag you to tell you you've gotten an airdrop. These are just, and again, I hate to have to rehash this all the time, but just understand that those types of things are not real. Unfortunately, with this user, exactly.
They started targeting.
I did want to talk to you about this part actually, though. I think, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I've gotten so many damn job offers that are like, hey, Logan, we want to pay you like such and such money to be the Web3 coordinator. We'd love you to come in and do this. We've seen your work, and they actually will comment on my work. And then you get in there and they start asking you to download a thing to take the meeting. And you need to get this other thing so you can click on a button. And that's how I got drained the first time. I've actually been drained. I've been scammed. I was at a point in my life where I was doing quite well, and then I wasn't going to quit working. You know, just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you suddenly like kick your feet up on the beach. I still want to build things. Even if I had $1 billion, I'd still be building, just with a capital B. Anyhow, that's what I was going in to do, and I was taking a look at one of the games that they wanted me to help them build out, because I like game design. And you click, the game looks good. The home screen is animated. It's moving around. Make a profile. It's like they took the time to build out a proper platform. And you click one thing, and suddenly you get a pop up, and they're draining behind the pop up. They're doing some wallet magic, and boom, your money's gone, and your wallet's compromised. That wallet that I had that got compromised is still compromised. It is done.
Yeah. Yeah, once it's done, it's done.
It's so dead. Like a year later, I was a bonehead. I was like, I think I can still use it to transfer money. It's just like a dead wallet. Nope. That was like lickety split gone. I was like, I deserved that.
Yeah, they have listeners and all kinds of scripts just sitting there continuously draining you.
Yeah, we learned the hard way. And yeah, so there's not a human on the other side. There's a script. And so you guys all have to be careful. They automate this stuff now. The AI makes it look absolutely spotless. And so you can't spot it like you used to. It's a lot, and even the English, it used to be you could just kind of look at the language use, and it'd be like, "You come by now, good sir." It's like, yeah, I'm gonna pass on that. But now they come at you with this very formal, I would say, like eloquent English, even. Like it's like, okay, and you run something through Chat GPT once, and suddenly you sound like a banker.
Right.
So be careful out there.
Yeah, completely agree. So, in addition to this, there's been some other actors who I guess have picked up the trail. Much like what we just mentioned, that there's probably attackers on some of these fake wallets that are taking the BTC, and they're actually doing what, frankly, I'm shocked that the attackers haven't done yet. So there's a building case for the idea that this was an inside job from Coldcard. And I'm not going to try and fuel that fire, mainly because, well, there's a lot of tweets where they talk about
fueled the fire just now.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's more a matter of we saw the, then I'll have to find the tweet specifically about what's called a retirement bug. And what a retirement bug is a backdoor that can be left as a crumb for a team to reach on later, for quote unquote retirement, right? So a lot of people are out there talking about, congrats on getting all this Bitcoin. I think it's like almost 1,500 Bitcoin at this point. Good luck trying to spend it. Guys, it's not that hard for them to spend that. There are multiple websites that offer gift cards in exchange for Bitcoin. Shout out to Bitrefill and their team. I hope you guys are on high alert for this one, because you can buy anything and everything with Bitrefill. Amazon gift cards, Nike's, Apple Store gift cards. That's all on the table at Bitrefill. There are people who buy groceries and live off
that. CEO, Chris.
Anyway, I'm
joking.
not shilling. I know.
I wanted to give him the spotlight to say he actually supports. I support that service personally, so I was going to plug it and say that I was the.
I've
CMO.
never used it.
Sorry if I swept your legs out from under you.
No, you're fine, because I've used it. I've talked at length with Bitrefill multiple times at multiple conferences.
So. It has saved my behind. Actually, I could sing their praises all day, and I am not the CMO. This is not an ad for Bitrefill. It saved I lived on crypto for a while. So if you're ever looking for a way to spend your stuff and you're like, well, how do I off ramp and this and that? Don't. The ultimate goal of Bitcoin is to not have to sell it, right? So just spend it.
So the other way that they can do this, and I'm kind of shocked they haven't really, I mean, I said it in response to somebody, but they're like, good luck spending it. I'm like, guys, Thorchain has entered the chat. Thorchain, as a chaotic neutral instrument, has been used by North Korea to a staggering effect. And ultimately, if this is how they're going to do it, let me just put it that way. If they're going to move it, which they may not for a very long time, because it's BTC, maybe they have no desire to do it. And maybe it's, even if it is an inside job. I mean, the other sub-attackers who are coming in and are sweeping other things, maybe they figured it out. They're already draining, they're already sending it, and they're getting it through Tornado, which is an interesting choice. They could use any other mixer. I don't know why they would do that, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I just saw all those posts and I'm like, you guys, why are you giving oxygen to the idea that they're not going to move it? They could very easily move it. They could move it across 55 wallets in seconds, and then suddenly you're like, I don't know where it went. And then, it's just an unfortunate situation. It's going to get worse. This is not the first system that's going to fall, and that's something I've talked about as well in the age of what we call these mythos class. I don't want to use the word penetrator, but security. tester, right?
Pen testing, yes.
It was meant to be a testing suite of the highest caliber. That's originally what Mythos was supposed to be. But of course, we can't have nice things. This is why mommy drinks type of stuff, right? The reason why that this has become what it has is that it's being used for the ultimate evil, right? And it's going through low-hanging fruit groups like Cold Card that didn't have true random number generation. If you have one and you haven't been swept, and you have either an older model or you haven't been swept and you have a newer model, yes, go and get another wallet right away and move your funds. What should you get? You can use anything out there that has market share. Ledger, I would go with Trezor at this point, and you get their software from them, and then move your coins quickly and diligently, and do not do anything else with them once you've moved them for a significant amount of time. Will there be
AIs are now doing the math that we have not been able to solve? Mathematicians are starting to feel like their jobs are being threatened, and I'm talking about the scholarly academic types. And so if that's the case, all of our code is now suspect. Even if we start talking about the quantum stuff.
Yep.
Recently, the AI found a hole in some of the encryption methods that we were starting to move to. And so we're going to see a lot of, we're in a high risk time. Watch yourselves. Like, if you've never paid attention to security and you've thought, maybe I should do that someday, it's today. It was actually yesterday, but let's call it today. Just going to say that. Security is the word of the day.
Yeah, we talk about this. You know, there's a reason why, you know, I talk about security so much, because the best way to make money in crypto, especially if you've seen the markets, is not to lose it. So as long as you're holding your crypto, you are winning in crypto, because eventually everything moves to these digital markets, digital assets, and your coins will go up at some point. We will see a reckoning for this. Two things I did want to cover, which I think is interesting, speaking on how this is going to change things, is shout out to Adam Semeka, by the way.
Yeah, that guy.
Bolt Exchange. Never heard of Bolt. What's interesting is what the message says. It is a BTC wallet that is being referenced here. It says, the maintainer and admins of the software project known as Bolt Exchange have received and complied with 0 requests for information of any kind from any third parties, including but not limited to government agencies. We will renew this notice in 60 days' time. If this notice fails to be renewed by then, you should assume the worst. So, if you've never heard of a canary before, a canary is generally used as an independent way to test something. Generally with a canary, as I know it in the world of enterprise software development, you will take a canary with a certain configuration to production, let it go out there to get regular traffic to A/B test something, and then your canary will come back with that information. You don't keep the canary deployed. You're out there literally just to test it against, you know, like oftentimes, and what's the best way to describe this? If you go to Netflix or some other streaming platform, or even just any web app, and you notice that your version looks a little bit different than somebody else's, there is a chance that you have come across a canary. Like, especially with Facebook. Like, I'll talk to my wife. I don't use Facebook all that often, but I've had one forever. My wife will look at my Facebook sometimes and go, hey, how come you have that? I don't have that. It's most likely because I'm using a canary at that exact moment. It'll probably go back to what it was shortly after. There are multiple software platforms that utilize canaries to get real world traffic to test out a new feature. What's interesting about this canary? Exactly. So the interesting part about this canary, canary in the coal mine.
Oh yes. Okay. Good.
That would be my guess.
I'm assuming that's the same. If everyone knows what that is, they used to take canaries down there to see if they'll die from the bad gases, so they have time to escape. Just as a side note, it's kind of dark actually now that I say it out loud. But I mean, the canaries go there to be broken, just like these canaries. Just in case you were curious, I certainly was.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris.
No, it's a fair metaphor. Also, so normally if a product is brand new, it's like in a state where it could be going into production, it's an alpha state, and then it moves to a beta state. There's no C in the Greek alphabet. So I've always thought that's why they also called them canaries with that same metaphor, because there's no C, because it's alpha, beta, gamma, delta. So you're not going to have a gamma product. You'll have a canary product. So that's the other reason why I thought it's always been that way. I could be completely wrong. Not that it was ever taught to me in my project management classes in university, but the type of canary that this is the most interesting part, because it's a warrant canary. And this is just what they probably have called it. But what this is a call for help, meaning that if this canary has come out, this means that you should assume the worst, that something has happened. This is script driven, by the way. This is not them just throwing it out there. I mean, a script, because of some parameters that have been met, there is a script that is fired off this canary. I actually think it's fairly elegant. I think some people have this as like if they pass away, this is something that comes out. If you have read this, I have met my untimely death type of deal. That's technically what this is. So now, I don't use Boltz Exchange. If you happen to use them, if you interact with them, this is a sign to you to stop doing that. If you have funds on this exchange, find a way to get them away. Again, the thing about, and I have no idea if this is a decentralized exchange or a centralized exchange. If it's a centralized exchange, good luck, because not your keys, not your crypto, as we say in this case, in this industry, not your coins. When you leave your coins on a centralized exchange and you treat it like a bank, you are in a situation where counterparty risk exists, right? If something happens to the bank, well, now you're fucked, right? And so I feel like that's where we're at here. So best of luck, obviously, to Boltz, and I hope they're okay. This is not the first time this is going to happen. I don't think this is related to Coldcard, but hopefully we don't see too many more of these going out, and there's a way to make all of this whole. Again, the hope of the Coldcard issue is that it's an ethical hacker because there are reports that they have talked about bugs of this severity in the past, and they've fallen on deaf ears. So hopefully this is what we call a white hat or an ethical hacker who has carried this out as a matter of awareness, but at the highest degree, right? It's like, honestly, I would have been like, most ethical hackers would have just gone through, done a couple of them, and then re-released them. But the fact that they're continuing to sweep and it's getting bigger and bigger, not a good sign that this is an ethical hacker.
Doesn't feel so catty.
Exactly. But one thing I did want to talk to you about that I thought was really cool, and this is thanks to We Satoshis. They decided to try and beat the attacker at their own game, because they knew that their Coldcard was going to get swept. So they actually got into a race, specifically with the sweeper, meaning that they paid more money in gas. And this is something that you can do at any blockchain, because the way that blockchains work is that it's just a ledger, right? Stack of transactions. The ones that paid the most gas are going to be at the top for processing. What did I do? Can you hear me? That's weird. My screen did something weird. Anyway, the ones at the top get done first. That's why when people pay for gas, like especially with meme coins, they'll pay a significant amount of gas to be at the top. because they know that they'll get processed first ahead of everything else. And this is why mempools exist. This is why MEV exists, sandwich attacks, all that stuff is there to try and replace by paying more of a fee to get their transactions done. So they started off by paying some funds to get the replaced by fee transactions, so they're higher up. One thing to remember too about one thing that's different about Bitcoin as a blockchain as opposed to others is that their block finish times are like 6 to 10 minutes, whereas like EVM, the highest you'll ever see on ETH mainnet is generally 13 seconds. We're talking 6 to 10 minutes on Bitcoin. So this is something that can be, well, it introduces a really interesting experimentation phase, right? Because suddenly people can continue with these RBFs and pay more to replace transactions. And that's exactly what they did. They did 9,000 to secure the funds, but then the attacker went in with a 9,100 sats fees. And then so, looking at the mempool here, essentially you can continue to outbid them until, frankly, all of the money is gone. Because I don't think that Scripps, well, unless they've programmed them that way, will have a gas limit. But they might. Because at that point, it's no longer profitable for them to do so. So this is an interesting way to defend against the attack. And yeah, I don't think there's any, I didn't see any more specifically on this.
I guess I don't fully understand that attack, but it seems like kind of scary actually that, hypothetically someone could try to stop me from spending my money if they were suddenly interested in doing so.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of terrifying.
Well, you see that all the time with snipers and sandwich bots on EVM, right? On meme coin transactions, people are just loading into that block to be there first, and that's where smart contract snipers, which are still the king, can literally race ahead to try and get in that block so that they're ahead of everybody else. That's how MEV bots, the ethical ones, the ones that are not Jared from Subway, go through and they help by jumping ahead in the meme pool to prevent others from taking transactions. That's when white hat people do that, and multiple people can do that. The reason why they stay in existence is that they take a bounty fee for that, because it's not cheap to do that. Not cheap at all. One such example, Stargate from Layer 0. When they first launched, they had an STG token. They were going to launch it. Everybody and their mother was going to go after it because they put the contract address out there like early, like a week early. So of course everyone's going to load up and try and, what if you ever watch racing like BMX or motocross, or even just like animal things where they have a hole shot, so everyone's forced to go one single file, right, from a huge cone into the hole shot. Very similar to this. Interestingly enough, when the token launched, it all went to mostly one wallet, and that wallet was from Sam Bankman-Fried at Alameda Research, because they sniped it and spent in excess of $50,000 in gas to try and be first in line. Now, they played it off like they were in cahoots to do that because of all of the snipers that were there to prevent them from buying low and then selling high and crashing the price of the token. So the price of Stargate went terrible anyway. And they migrated all of STG to Layer 0's token 0 18 months ago. But anyway, all of this to say that, yes, you can buy your way to getting processed first. So that's essentially what they've done here, is that they've just gone, and it's kind of like an eBay transaction, right? When you're like 2 minutes away, you're like, I'm going to get this one. And you go, and then suddenly somebody outbids you. And then now you're in this race to figure out who's going to win the auction. This is no different than that. It's just a matter of who's willing to spend the most. And if they can get the attacker to keep spending, that's actually taking from their. Now these are sats, right? This is a little bit different than like a full Bitcoin, but still, the idea that they were able to at least outrace them for a couple of times. I don't know if there's a cap on that. That's just a limitation of my knowledge on how far that can go. But I thought it was cool. So I know you're eating your popcorn, so I just want to know if you had any specific thoughts on this. But
popcorn's delicious, and I did mute. I didn't want everyone to hear me munching through my kernels. It's really interesting that they can sandbag you like that. I guess when I imagine that happening, I imagine like someone just kind of clinging on to the thief's ankle and like letting them be dragged along. It's like, hey, we're gonna make this cost you. I respect the effort, but at the same time, it's who was it? Bruce Fenton. He's kind of big in the crypto community. I think he was running for Congress in Kentucky at one point. He said something that really caught my attention on Twitter, and it was that, all the victims, there's a lot of them that still haven't realized this yet. They're not plugged into crypto Twitter. They're not watching Logan and Chris talk on the podcast. They're off fishing. They're off living their life. They don't check this stuff every day. They only come and check their portfolio, once a quarter. Some of them might not realize for a year that all their Bitcoin's gone. And it's like all the tears that are being shed right now, that's just the start. That's just the start. And it's like, oh, what a lovely way to start the morning. Thank you for breaking my heart, Bruce. But it was true. It's going to be the slow realization. Other people, it took me a week to realize I'd gotten fully drained, actually, kind of embarrassingly. But yeah, there's a time lag to some of this. I bet there's still people waking up to the nightmare. It's like, my goodness, I feel bad for those folks. And again, security. And then let me also say security. Chris has the word security in Gothic lettering tattooed on his back. You should too. I don't. I don't get tattoos.
It's actually a tramp stamp, but I wasn't going to. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Just above
no. Shout out to everybody who has a tattoo on their lower back about, an inch or two above their butt crack. But I apologize for calling it that. But so
my gosh.
We are talking about the changing world, right, Logan? So I'm gonna bring up a subject that if crypto can be divisive, so can surveillance. We've talked about flock cameras on this show multiple times. We're a big fan of DFlock, right? And if you haven't checked out DFlock, check out dflock.org. The reason why DFlock exists is it's mapping these it's an open source project mapping out these quote unquote license plate reading cameras that have been set up by Flock. Now, when I first, and actually this is actually dimmer than what it was. And the majority of these cameras are from Flock Safety, but there's also some from Motorola Solutions and some smaller groups. I thought this was a map of the US with lights on at night, if I'm being very honest. And it actually used to be a lot brighter. The fact that they have cameras set up so deeply in all of these areas, honestly, guys, should concern you. Because I thought, cool, Flock has a way to read your license plate. I didn't think that they had this many cameras already. There's 125,000 of them already. Not just out, they're used. They're being used to track people across multiple things. Frankly, the fact that no one's talked about this Well, I think it's halfway insane, but also unfortunate.
There's not enough money to help you, though. And because we need to make sure that we have our security levels up. So all that money that was going to support all of the people who needed it, because we're good people and we support our neighbors, we're actually supporting them by buying those flock cameras. Security first. Who needs the Fourth Amendment?
Exactly. And again, I'm not going to, make this too terribly political, but the reason why I don't have a Ring camera is because when you sign that EULA, you also sign up your camera for something called Neighbors, which is a initiative that allows the police to go through and just literally watch your videos that are being recorded on the Ring, which is fine, I guess. For some people, like, oh, well, I don't do anything wrong. That's fine. But if you didn't know that you signed that, because most people never read an end user EULA, an end user license agreement, when they buy something, they're like, yeah, just get me activated. I just want it to be used, so I can actually start seeing who's at my door, trying to deliver packages to me. Well, people are upset about the flock cameras, by the way. I see them all the time when I'm driving around. They're in most of the ones here in our area. They are in the midtown to downtown sections of town. They are in areas where there are people who do a lot of congregating, and they're normally in parking lots of very populous areas. You'll know that what they are is because they have 2 to 3, they're a large apparatus, 2 or 3 separate solar panels, and then a large pole with like 2 or 3 cameras dangling at the top. People are going through and they're just knocking them down. There are multiple people who are being arrested specifically for taking these cameras down. The interesting part is they're being painted as patriots, which is fine. Again, I'm not making a judgmental statement regardless. But the fact that they're starting to get literally removed in multiple communities. Like people are just literally, one group decided to just put a sign in front of one of them that says no flock cameras allowed or something like that. I saw that. But the fact that we're seeing people just, I saw a video on Instagram yesterday of a guy literally climbing a pole to remove multiple of them with some wire snips in rush hour traffic, and no one was stopping this man.
In broad daylight? I think it was
in broad daylight.
We saw the same thing.
It was along a freeway. I'm guessing it was probably in California or somewhere. Who knows? But no one was stopping this man because, frankly, nobody wants to see this happen. So
I didn't pay for this. I want where on the receipt from my taxes did it say flock cameras? I don't remember being asked to vote on this. They have heartbeat sensors and they have gate detection, meaning even if they don't see your license plate, they can tell if it's you just by your heartbeat, because they can, using a certain camera, you can actually see a heartbeat through someone's skin. It's kind of fascinating stuff. It's just like the oximeters in the hospital. They just shine a light on your finger to do that. And so they can put that same thing into the camera. And, they're not just pointing them at the road. They'll have them pointing it at daycares, at gun clubs. And so you might not be doing anything wrong yet, but wait until they decide that you are. There's something kind of creepy about how quickly they've gone up and how quietly they've gone up. When we don't have the money for basic stuff right now and people are struggling, we're putting up cameras to stalk us. If I went around and took notes and it's like, all right, Chris left at this time, I know where he is at this hour, this hour, this hour. I'm a stalker. Literally, the police would come to my house. It would be creepy. Right? It would be illegal if I did that, but right now, that's what's happening. Except on a mass level. Again, it's you can have security or freedom. Pick one. Pick one. That's Ben Franklin, not me. So and if you're going to sacrifice your freedom for security, you'll have neither. Actually, I think that's Jefferson. It's one of the founding people. Don't hold my feet to the fire. I can already feel people furiously typing stop. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, and honestly, the reason why I brought this up is just with the title, "The Changing Cold World." We're in a severe geopolitical situation right? We're seeing more and more divisiveness between us and our quote unquote former allies, whether that be in NATO, whether it be Spain, whether that be anyone in Asia Pacific, in the APAC region. We're seeing more and more of this divisiveness. Exactly. And it's just,
it's a shame. The Strait of Hormuz is open. Oh, it's closed. Actually, it's open. Oh, good morning.
It'll be open by Friday, by the way. It's going to be open by Friday. That's been stated on the record. So for those of you who are looking to short oil, there is your signal to go short oil. You can do so on Hyperliquid, by the way.
A rabbi in fact, I'll show you. The bartender says, we open the Strait of Hormuz. That's what it feels like at this point.
Yeah, go to trade.xyz, which is on Hyperliquid. And then you can go here and take a perp on US. Let me look for specifically oil. Oil.
Ooh.
There, they have multiple types of oil. There's WTI and there's Brent. You can also go to markets.xyz. Both of these. What's interesting is that they lead with oil, as they should. Not only is there, they used to be called U.S. oil. Now it's WTI oil and Brent oil. There's also energy. Where'd the energy one go? Oh, that's XLE now. Okay, fair enough. It's an actual. They've turned it into a little bit of an index fund. Anyway. In DeFi, there are multiple places you can go, and this is where Wall Street traders love to go because this is open 24/7, 365. Again, the changing cold world. Now, I did want to point out one really cool thing. Shout out to World Mobile. As of just as a note of transparency, I am on the team at On-Chain Media. We're a media partner specifically for World Mobile, which is a DePIN, Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Network. One thing that they're doing to help bring mobile and internet access to the world is something called World Mobile Stratospheric. They're going around. They already have. So, have you heard of Project Loon before?
Sounds crazy.
But have you heard of Project Loon from Google?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay, so Project Loon is an older project where they used high altitude hot air balloons with relays to create in the top layers of the atmosphere, hot air balloons that just sit there. And what they do is they just bounce internet signal between each other and then down to receptors on the ground. And what this does is it provided, at the time, 4G access to areas of the world that didn't have that. Starlink is one of those things that has kind of superseded that because they're LEOs, they're low Earth orbit satellites that are floating around and they're beaming down internet access, between each other as well as down to receptors as even mini dishes that people have in their homes. World Mobile Stratospheric is looking to do something similar, and by using, pardon me, multiple planes to ride up in the air roughly about 6 to 9 hours at a time, and just kind of orbiting around in multiple places, specifically in places that have no access to cellular service or internet. And they're getting licenses from aviation groups across the world. Shout out to them. Obviously, they just launched a big pilot for their air nodes in the Philippines. What's great about this is that this is able to beam down access at times where there could be natural disasters. So things like that. So, again, this is not a shill for them. This is just more of a congratulations because they're getting wins across the world to get Stratospheric off the ground. Now, they're not anywhere close to releasing tons of planes just yet, but this is on the frontier for what the world is going to be like. We're going to have LEOs across the sky. We're going to have stratospheric planes going across the sky, beaming down data specifically for communities or underserved communities that need them.
Funny, I was just talking about this with my wife. We were coming up with the strangest technology we could think of just for fun, and we thought about a floating castle. And so we actually started fleshing out if it would be possible to build a large building that would be able to float perpetually in the sky. And you look it up, it's like, well, what's the longest time something's been in the air? Not terribly long. And the record for airplanes was like 1958. And so I think we are going to see the sky fill up with launch pads and internet relays and even little, maybe not castles quite yet, but small buildings. Not going to shock me. I know someone who does carbon fiber. I follow some people who do textile stuff, and there are some next level materials coming out that will just blow your mind if you dug into that science. It is on the dry side. It lacks some of the sexiness of other industries, but my goodness, textiles are going to revolutionize the world in 10 years, especially powered by AI. I'm excited. And it's going to lead to stuff like this. Like internet went after a hurricane when you really need it the most and everyone's dialing their phone. I was in Japan after the earthquake. It was terrifying. The phones didn't work. And no one could get on the internet to send messages. We were like in the dark. It was like being back in the 1970s. God, can you imagine the humanity?
If you think about things like space elevators, right? Things that the people are trying to build space elevators, and I still have no idea how the hell that's going to work, because you literally just have gigantic rails popping up out of the earth up into the upper regions of the atmosphere. And I'm just like, it's going to be slow, but still, why? And then you watch things like Captain Marvel and you find out there's been some gigantic, spaceship cloaked outside the Earth's atmosphere for 50 to 100 years that just suddenly appears because two big things have run into it.
That's my bingo card for 2026.
Where's the poly market for that, huh? If Jesus is coming back at the end of the year, where's the poly market for the uncloaked ship that's sitting above the earth?
We need to go start a bet, man. I've got money on this. I've got $1,000 on cloaked invisible ship outside of Earth for a century. Okay.
Anyway, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, we're having a bit of fun today because we woke up in a. Yeah, I mean, you slept 12 hours. I slept 9.5, which is not normal for me. I'm normally a 4.5 to 5 hour guy, and it's just like we woke up and something was weird. Right? Something didn't feel right.
Started an hour off. Yeah. Jupiter's in the 7th house, or, there's invisible ships in the sky. It could be really any of those things. The vibe online on CT today is kind of similar. Just like the weather here in Nebraska, it's a bit overcast. I saw some people just being like, you know what? I'm going to admit that I'm burnt out. I think people are starting to collectively agree that we're all, it's been a kind of wild year.
I had mentioned to shout out to Salamander from Gotcha.
Hey, Salamander.
She had posted, she's a bit burnt out. I'm like, we should start a podcast called Pop Tarts because we're all a bit toasted. And
crispy bacon.
I know, we're all a bit crispy bacon, right?
Crispy bacon is like your middle name and last name there, bud.
I could use a new name because the DeFi professor is super nichey. So I'm like, if I called myself Crispy Bacon.
Don't do it. You sound like a hog farmer. We're from Nebraska. You got to be careful.
Well, I mean, shout out to General Don Bacon, right? Who's our congressional rep from.
I love Don Bacon. I've spoken a lot with this office. He's out, but
he's a very nice man.
He's
a nice man.
I've had words, but overall, I've come in. I've had a lot of chats with his office, and it turned out positive. I think he's not continuing for re-election, though. So
no, he's not. No, he's retiring. But I have spoken from his team. As recently as last year's Cinco de Mayo parade. I went to the Cinco de Mayo parade last year and happened to talk to some members of his team. So I'm only just doing this because of one reason, because he does have a tie to crypto. We talked about Flock. We talked about the changing world. We talked about how a lot of people in the administration are profiting off of crypto and the reason why Clarity has to pass. Here's another reason if you want one.
I do want other reasons. Oh, dear.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dear is right. So, for those who don't know who Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is, not only, I'm not gonna mince words here. I mean, the man knew Jeffrey Epstein pretty damn well.
I'm biting my tongue so hard.
Cantor Fitzgerald owns a significant stake in Tether. Just so you guys know. This was actually a fairly bullish idea when he was nominated for Commerce Secretary, because hopefully that meant there was a really big pro-crypto slant, right? And overall, he's fairly supportive of crypto. However, the idea that they've been quietly buying up rights to tariff refunds across multiple public companies since President Trump came into office is frankly very problematic. Problematic is the word I would use. This is the reason why Clarity needs to pass.
Gentlemen. That is one.
This is the reason why Clarity needs to pass. Regardless of how you feel about President Trump, everything he has done has been done through a trust, right? That he's covered. Is Howard Lutnick covered? Technically, yes, because it's being run by his two sons. And by the way, none of the language in the ethics things talks about children. It's all about people, their spouses, and their staff. His sons are not technically his staff.
I wish my cat.
But there's a reason why. There's a reason why kids are not being mentioned in the ethics clause, right? Because of bullshit like this. Because yes, did we have to pay tariffs? No. We technically indirectly did, because all of the people who had to pay tariffs raised prices to cover their costs.
I did. I paid for it.
There you go.
I feel I got it passed along, like literally the companies I was ordering from told me. They're like, we increased the price on this because of this. It's like, okay.
Exactly. Supreme Court says it was unconstitutional for the tariffs, and they have to refund the tariffs. And they're going back to Apple, Amazon, all of these companies. That's fine. They had to probably, quote unquote, shoulder the majority of the tariffs. But then you get people. Exactly. But then when you get something like this is where people get upset, right? This is the part where people get upset about, quote unquote, fucking with my money. And this is exactly why people are upset with Howard Lutnick. So if you're wondering, well, what has he done? Well, here you go.
Howard Nutlick.
Okay.
you said the F-bomb, and I did not.
That's true.
You out. So I get right. one. I get one, and I'm putting $1 in the swear jar, and it was low-hanging nut.
That is true. That is true. I will give you that.
I mean, come on, it's right there in your face, and honestly, he's ugly. In my face. I feel like I've got a little bit of acid to spit, and problematic is one way to say it, and I have some other choice words that I will not say because I will match your gentlemanliness. But the
worst part is my hairline looks just like his son's here. And he's doing the one thing with his hair that I wish I could do with my hair, and I cannot.
You gotta get
That's why I wear hats.
The rooster top on it. You got to get the rooster.
Yeah, I am all bangs at this point, Logan. I am all bangs, and I am not gonna settle for this.
Nothing in the back.
I know my mullet is gone.
I mean, as much as the administration has done for crypto, it's also been a little bit of a double-edged sword because of some of this insider stuff. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't want to dance around it any longer. We're having events at casinos. We're pretending that all of this is okay because we get a little something out of it. That's kind of a dirty trade-off. I feel like we might be fiddling with the devil. And when I say fiddling, I mean like and so I really hope that the industry comes out of this okay. It kind of feels like a billions of dollars have just been siphoned out and gone somewhere. Weird feeling.
Yeah, and to be clear, They are not literally, well, they technically are, because they've bought shares in companies they're receiving these refunds. Do all of us have the ability to have that access? Maybe. But do they have the information? No. So we have this. We have the president willing to sell access to his Truth Social feed, like what, $1,000 a month or something like that, so that they can. This is all bad, all very bad. So this is why clarity has to pass to prevent weird things like this from being a thing. Although, let's be honest, it'll still happen, but at least there'll be a little bit more scrutiny on the ethics side. Even though they said that they want the Department of Justice with Todd Blanche to be the one that enforces this. So will they ever enforce this? Who knows? Regardless. I'm being a bit cynical now. We'll move on to something else. So
it's an overcast, cold day. We're allowed to be cynical one day every now and then, guys. Sorry.
It's weird.
I know. It was bad dreams last night. In case you missed the start of the show, everyone's having weird nightmares and bad dreams. If you had a weird dream last night, drop a comment. I'm actually dying to hear it. It's kind of a weird deal. Just throw back.
I want to know how the slogan for EA is going to change now that it has now been taken private by a Saudi-led private investment fund. EA Sports.
Previous
it's slogan? In the game.
Yeah, it's in the game.
It's in the game.
Right. Is it in the game? How much to buy the game? Pay to play.
Here's the thing. This is the reason why they're going to need more money for PayPal. Because if EA was valuated at $55 billion, I can tell you that all the PayPal shareholders are seeing this and like, oh, hell no, I'm not going to take $60 for my PayPal when people at EA are getting $210 a share. Not saying that, because comparison is a thief of joy, as we know, but we're going to see an interesting flip here, I think. I think that the PayPal acquisition, if Stripe wants them, is going to go a bit higher. Let's call it $80 a share at this point, because this is
Saudis.
This is interesting.
They're taking over golf. They're taking over sports. They're taking over kind of
video games.
Yeah, they're all over.
Isn't Madden an EA franchise?
I believe so.
Or they take two. Either way, regardless, we're going to see more and more interest here. I found this to be a fascinating investment. Well, I mean, when I saw this this morning, I was like, why would they do that?
They're making plays right now. Actually, my previous employer was talking to them about getting investment as well. So there's Saudis making financial plays right now. I'd keep my eye on them.
Oh, internet, don't you ever stop.
27.
That is terrible.
There were 26 others.
That is crazy. Why would although I would play just for the banana suit skin. Not to be
27 is the year, not the sequence of games. For a second I thought it was like 26 previous Camel Stampede games that I somehow missed. I was like, how
do you not have cigarette ads in here? How do you not?
Jump anyway. Camel, yeah, right. On the banners on the side in there.
Interesting. Okay.
Someone posted a stone meme.
So if Qatar comes around and starts buying, because Qatar has a ton of money, they're the third or fourth largest natural gas producer in the world, which is enabled Doha to become a huge tourist destination. With the Jewel, I think is what it's called, which is kind of like the Palm Triad in Dubai. Interesting to see how they may start bailing out certain, because let's be honest, video game industry is fledgling, right? So for Saudi to come in and inject some money into this, this is hopefully going to have a cascading, a trickle effect across multiple game studios. Not that EA owns a ton of game studios, but this could inject some energy, saying, hey, if we can produce the right portfolio or get the right pitch around, maybe other game studios can find some backing from some more international consortiums. So, you know, this is good energy into the video game space.
I'd say it's actually a sign of the impending earthquake. I know a couple people who work at AAA studios or have worked at AAA studios and do contract. One in specific, who's at the top of my mind that I was just talking about this with. He is very concerned about the future of AAA games. He sees AI, indie games taking over, getting way more attention than equal amounts to some of these large releases, except that the cost to produce them is multiple millions more. And so there's going to be a reckoning that the industry is going to get turned on its head, and certainly gaming is not alone here. But I think this Saudi move, yes, it's a good, nice injection, but
yeah,
it's kind of being taken away from the United States. It feels like it's like there's a power shift. This is a sign.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a. I mean, if you could even call it a bubble, the bubble could be bursting soon, specifically across multiple industries. I mean, the fact that the most viral games on the internet can be recreated by an LLM on a calculator is, you know, that's kind of the sign of the times. Not that there's anything wrong with, you know, supporting your AAA games that you love, but the world as we see it is turning colder and is shifting. And that's the one part I think people need to kind of take into account, is that across multiple industries, AI, digital assets, if you want to call it crypto, I call it digital assets, they're going to change the way that people play, right? Because when people say, well, I don't know how crypto works, I'm like, you guys buy V-Bucks and Robux and all kinds of digital cards on assets, like, you know, digital assets on cards, like it's candy. That's no different than what this is. It's just a matter of onboarding. The moment that people realize that there's an economy, what?
Go to Disneyland. Go buy some Mickey bucks.
Oh, there you go. Idea. Yeah, or go on a cruise and get cruise bucks. You know, they all have currency for their experiences, right?
All of those digital points and bucks, it's just the same as crypto, except that they have their own ledger and you don't get to see it, versus a public one that's really the only difference.
There you go, brother. There you go. I love that.
You think about it, but it's actually, the ramifications are massive. Imagine if you got to see how many Mickey bucks were being printed and what they were doing to you. You probably wouldn't buy any.
Or what the value really was, right? They'll always say on there, these points are worth nothing. But in that ecosystem, those points are worth everything. And that's the one part that you need to keep in mind. A couple other things I wanted to cover. And I appreciate you for being here, Logan, again.
Oh, I totally lost track of the time, and I don't care. It is just one of those days.
It's one of those days.
USB. I was supposed to be 3D modeling, and I was just scouring my car, the ground, everywhere for USB. I found it in my fanny pack under a ketchup packet.
There we go.
I know, that's just how life is.
I felt the same way about my my Apple Pencil from my iPad Mini. I thought it was gone because my girls borrowed it once, and that becomes a thing.
The girls borrowed it.
But it turns out it was in my emergency always. It was my bag that I always have when I travel to conferences. It was in there with a couple of with my my Trezor, actually.
Did you apologize to your girls?
No, I did later. Yeah, actually, I took that. Yes, I did. I was like, "Sorry, girls. I thought I had it. I thought you guys took it, but I have always had it. So I need to charge that thing." So Western Union now has their stablecoin card. Now, MoneyGram has not done this, and they would do this over Solana, and I think Stellar is the ecosystem that they're also settling on. But
if you beat them,
the fact that this is through Rain Cards, decentralized group on the Solana ecosystem partnered with Visa. And these are all stablecoin powered cards. They run on USDPT, which is their own stablecoin, which is interesting because now you can use this anywhere. The story, it's hard for me to understand how to frame this because we were in a situation where a lot of the blockchain technology was supposed to usurp things like Western Union and MoneyGram, right? Now they've come in using their resources and their network to quickly leapfrog everybody, right? Because all these neobanks and, that we keep talking about, there's dozens of them now, guys. Shout out to ones that I know well. The fact that they were able to get with Rain and get this out the door with Anchorage even. I didn't even see that Anchorage was on here. Oh, that's crazy work. That they were able to get this out there this quickly is a bad sign for decentralization. I'll be honest, because we were hoping that decentralization would bring a whole new crop of brands, founders, developers that would usurp the old institutions that were out there. And it will eventually.
Assets. It's a good sign for digital assets. It's a bad sign for crypto.
Exactly.
Look at it that way.
Brand recognition in a world where you don't understand anything can be very powerful, right? For me, coming into this space so long ago, my issue wasn't the idea, was more what can I think of that's new, that's similar to me, of what I understand and use for me to really embrace this. And for me, that was Aave way back in 2019. Because they're like a savings and loan facility. That makes sense to me. So for people who are brand new, they're like, Cold Card, all this stuff, I don't understand. Oh, Western Union, I recognize that brand. I'll go with them, even though they may not be what we consider truly decentralized. It's on a decentralized blockchain on Solana where that's being done, which is the good sign. But I don't know how I feel specifically about Western Union now seemingly being an incumbent brand in this space.
Honestly, I got into XRP a long time ago. I was living in Japan. I know some people hate me for that, but I was really interested in their promise to replace Nostros and Vostros accounts at banks and to take over remittances cross-border because it's like $1 trillion industry. I hated Western Union. I was forced to use them. I feel like they have been the troll under the bridge since bridges existed and trolls existed. And I just don't like them. I think their company's shisty. I think they're up to no good. And I thought the space was going to finish them off, not bury them.
Or give them a platform to continue operations, right?
Correct. Again, it's like a win for digital assets, but it's a loss for crypto. And what I mean by that is, this is technically what we've been fighting for. We want it to be normal, everyday stuff. Well, Western Union is normal, everyday stuff, folks. So this is kind of what we pushed for. But at the same time, it's like, again, we're dancing with the devil, playing the fiddle, and saying, hey, is this okay? And we're trying to remember, like, is this who we are? Are we wanting to play ball with these people, or are we still building something that's better? Did we just build faster ripoffs? Did we just put rocket engines on the scam machine? Guys, I hope not.
Clip that.
Yeah, I know. Ow! Logan's kicked out of the crypto group.
Say that one. Hold on. Say that one more time. Did DeFi just build a newer rocket for other incumbents to go and take and make their own?
Right. Man. Did we just rocket engines on the ripoff machine, on the just faster capitalism? Is that all we did? Like this? And you got to ask yourself, which type of capitalism are we pushing forward? It kind of feels like it's this predatory dog eat dog sort of capitalism, when there's also this better force for good within capitalism. I truly believe it. I used to hate capitalism, but you look at the results and it's hard to argue with. It really has done a lot for the world despite its shortcomings. And I just think that we need to refine what kind it is. And my fear is that we put rocket boosters on the worst most predatory. We basically built Mad Max for digital assets. And
what I think is interesting is if you look at the thought that was put in here, right? Two things that really just kind of pop out here to me. One, spending power, right? Spending power. How is that determined? Is that based on credit? Is that based on something that is attached to you that gives you some type of score, which is, counterintuitive to what we've built here in decentralized finance, right? Although on-chain credit is something that's actively being pursued by multiple groups. And then the deposits, right? Paying Amazon $100.22, but having that refunded by Microsoft Xbox for the exact same amount. The idea that you can get a refund, and thanks to the advent of stablecoins, that's an instant settlement onto your account, which is something that you normally don't see, right? If I have a credit card and I have to dispute a payment, I have to wait 7 to 10 days, blah, 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 blah.
They send it by donkey in a burlap sack.
It's an important signal.
There's some good to this, but my gosh, it's one of those bitter pills. Perhaps. Hopefully it's a good pill. I guess we're about to find out. It's an overcast day. The theme of today is cold. Sorry, guys, if we're not, our normal cheerful selves. We both had really weird sleep and bad dreams and crap. Please just, cut us a little slack. I can hear you furiously typing.
No, it's fine. I mean, we talk about these. I mean, this is important for the world to know, for our audience to know, that yes, there are things moving in the proper direction to bring more adoption, but at what cost is the adoption coming on, right? That's the other thing too. Because unfortunately, Western Union now releasing this by the end of the year, 60 plus markets, is going to make it seem like, oh, Western Union was the innovator of all this. Hell no, they weren't the innovator of all this. But interestingly enough, Anchorage has actually positioned themselves very well. Not only are they part of the USDG Global Dollar Consortium, yeah, they're huge institutional. They're one of the few. They're one of the few that actually have a 50-state money transmitter license, which they got during the Biden administration, by the way. For all of you who are going to poo-poo on that. Yeah, they were one of the only ones that have had it, which is why their inclusion in Paxos's dollar consortium, the Global Dollar Consortium, was so important because they actually had the money license. So USDG and all these others could go out. Visa being a big part of that, Visa's winning a lot of relationships right now, which is interesting because MasterCard has been working their patootie off to try and figure out a way how to get better, because they partnered with Binance for their original Binance card, and they've been building a ton. MasterCard Move, MasterCard 360, all of these really great architectural infrastructure solutions. I met with their head of North American operations last year in New York and talked at length about this. They've decided to go the route of just, instead of continuing to build, using their rails to acquire and integrate more of that into their system. So they acquired Bank, which is not Bivink, but Bank. But this is a pretty big acquisition. Now, this will be a better global integration specifically for them. But it's looking like Visa is continuing. Visa and MasterCard have always gone head to head. We're going to see an accelerated push between the two to really try and outdo each other to help bring public adoption to this. Say what you will about where we are with digital assets and stablecoins and RWAs. People care more about how to custody and spend them. And doing so in a safe way that doesn't involve banks is exactly what these two are looking to do, right? So if banks should be upset at anybody, it shouldn't be the Clarity Act. It should be these two. Because these two are actively working to cut banks out of the equation. That's the part that people aren't looking at, right? Stripe, Visa, MasterCard, Western Union, MoneyGram. Are they banks? No. But now they've got all the e-commerce rails available for anyone who's been self-custodying. And anyone who sees this, like, oh, cool, I can just put my money here. I don't need to put it in
a bank.
Exactly. With that said, is banking going to die? No, never will. There will always be some form of bank. Will banks as we know it die? Yes, unless they make this move into this arena, which many of them already have. JP Morgan, Goldman, Bank of America, BNY Mellon, all the TBTF, too big to fail banks, have been in this space for years, guys. And I keep telling you this, and no one seems to listen. Regardless,
I listened.
I woke up very grumpy today, so I apologize.
We both did. It's just a weird day. I don't know if you're in Nebraska listening. You know it. You can feel it. The air is goofy.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
I apologize for the time we've gone over. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Logan, for being here today. We're almost at an hour and a half, which is not normal for us. Two things I'd really wanted to talk about.
It's not a normal day.
It's not a normal day.
No.
I don't know how I feel about this, but if you've seen Eliza.Army, shout out to Shaw. You can literally it's a monthly pool, kind of like Folding at Home, but Eliza.Army. You can now contribute to stuff like this and earn off of what it makes. I think this is going to be a model that I think will have a little bit of traction. Let's call it 3 to 6 months down the road as we start seeing more and more of these agents arise and be a big part of the future of user experience. I've said this multiple times. Agents are the next frontier of UX or user experience, because my fat fingers make errors all the time, or my mind is just not there sometimes, like today. My agent won't have that problem. My agent will be programmed to do exactly what I tell it to do day after day, right? With no chance of human error. So being in a situation where you can power the networks that will power these experiences moving forward, like with Eliza.Army. They've got a $10,000 monthly pool. Imagine that you can just contribute resources to this, whether it's compute or whatever, a VPS with their agent already baked in, and you're earning some rev share off of that. That's easy DPIN. That is DPIN on autopilot. So for those who are curious, this is what Shaw's kind of banking on. It's interesting how it looks like Noose researches.
I'm going to have to show you Cortex after this and then get that on the show, because it's similar to this, where it's decentralized AI and you can rent out your GPU while you're not using it and get paid. It's pretty cool.
Oh, I would just buy some of these used GPUs to just do that, if I'm being honest.
Right. There's so many cool. I'll talk to you about it later, because I don't want you to plug it until I've done some more research. But there's some cool stuff like this starting to unfold. It's a really exciting space.
Earn's now live on Uniswap. Now, I don't really know how to interpret this, which is, and I don't really understand. I understand, but I don't know why they've decided to push this. And if the only reason why I can think of is because of one specific thing. And again, shout out to Hayden Adams, who I had the pleasure of meeting in person in New York last year, who's the founder of Uniswap, is that like Jupiter and Solana, Uniswap in Ethereum world is building a moat. They have their own wallet. They have their own blockchain, Unichain, which is on the OP Superchain. It's layer 2. Uniswap is now cross ecosystem, where they can cross into Solana, EVM, and probably some others, I'm sure, by the end of the year, thanks to their partnership with the cross-chain decentralized exchange. They even have a partnership with Coinbase. So in Coinbase, if you're using permissioned liquidity pools, it's actually based off of Uniswap that you're getting your yield from. They're trying to build a moat so that ideally anything that you would need to do in this space can be done from one app, whether it's swapping, bridging, LPs, which Uniswap's is undisputed king of across multiple chains, right? On certain blockchains, that's not the case. Like on Base, no, they're losing to Aerodrome. But everywhere else, they're still the king of not only DEXs, but also LPs. And now they're looking to break in through a partnership with Morpho. You now have this earn section. What I will tell you as an alpha hit is that if you go to Robinhood right now, you can trade tokenized stocks with lightning fast speed and unbelievable volume, which is what you want for yield on Robinhood. There's your alpha for the day. But what they do have here as well is the ability to earn using Morpho's vaults and morpho.org. Shout out to Paul Frambeau and company. One of our favorites that we've talked about for years in our community. Morpho Midnight is their new market credit solution. I'll even bring it up for a second. And they have variable rate markets specifically with Morpho Midnight to look at credit. Really great stuff. Anyway, the vaults is really what they're being used here for specifically, depending on where it's going. As you can see, this is on Katana, so it's technically not native USDC. It's because they have chain-owned liquidity on Katana, so this is their Vault Bridge USDC. But if we go to, let's say, Hyper EVM, you can get 10% on Gauntlet USDC. Now you have to go and manage all of that. Whereas here you can literally do it from within Uniswap's web app or on their mobile app and get 3.5%, which is going to be better than anything you can have at your regular bank savings account. If you have a high yield savings account, yes, obviously this is in cooperation or just in competition with that, but all of this is for on-chain stuff. It's separate from what I would call in the TradFi world with an HYSA. You should have both if you want to diversify your portfolio. But the fact that you can do this directly within Uniswap, and you can do this with anything else, right? Because Aave also has this. There are multiple other ecosystem protocols that have stuff like this, but Uniswap wants to make this a one-stop shop for you to be able to do this. You can even do this on Coinbase, and they use Morpho on the backside. So more people using Morpho is really the announcement. I don't know. Would you use this, Logan?
No, but not for any reason that we should really talk about right now. I'm out of crypto, and I have one coin, and I'm not even going to tell you what it is because I will not advocate for it. I basically took a BB gun and shot at the moon. But I sold out because I got into quantum security, and as soon as the gentleman I started working with started predicting the future of what Google was going to release about quantum stuff, I said, you know what? Bye. And I am now diversified in whiskey and bullets, and I'm just kidding. But no, I'm actually taking a little bit of a step back from investing in crypto. That doesn't mean that I'm done with crypto. I still build in it.
He still stands with it?
I do. I advocate for it. We're having an event in 11 days. That said, I cannot advocate anyone to actually go and invest in this stuff. I told all my friends and family to take profits. And they're really glad they did because that was about a few months ago. And so it was kind of ahead of a bit of a dip. And I'm watching the market. I'm curious to see what happens with the new with the elliptical curve cryptography being hacked by some of this quantum stuff. I think we're going to see that within the next year. And so I would really like to see the new type of security take hold before I'm comfortable in investing again. And that's not any advice. I'm an idiot. Do not listen to me. Everything I say is a lie and untrue. I'm just here for entertainment value. Chris is the smart guy.
That's definitely a misstatement, but appreciate you.
And he's a wonderful soul. But the point is, Watch the markets carefully. Again, get the security tattoo on your shoulders or above your hips, wherever you want to put it. We all need to watch the market more carefully than we ever have. This is the most trying
Agreed.
time in crypto. They used to call it the Wild West. No, now is the Wild West. Now is. Before it was just a little tiny town secluded in the mountains. Now everyone knows about it. There's people outside the gates waiting for you to try to escape. We've built quite the little fortress, and yeah, I'm kind of biding my time, waiting in the corner to see what everybody does, seeing how the market unfolds over the next year, and working on tech just kind of more broadly as I keep an eye on the space and see what happens with clarity. Please, if you hear me, universe, let it pass.
Let's talk about LFNO real quick.
Yes, please. I need to update the pictures.
Yes.
Check this.
So is there, if there's anything you want to talk about specifically with the Hawk?
This is the new Hawk. It is.
That's the new Hawk.
See the body style has changed. This is a mouse. Well, it's the model of a mouse, but it sits on your finger. You don't even have to hold it. It follows your hand around. People tell me it's a 9-figure IP. I don't know. I don't care anymore. I just want to build the thing and make it play better. Previous version of the Hawk, I just unplugged today because it was on the fritz. I actually replaced my mouse with this. I was using this until today. I ripped it out. Some of the buttons started to go on it, and so I need to wire it, not like a chimpanzee with brain damage. But yeah, we're starting to test in Nebraska. I'm hoping to get one on Chris's hand here pretty soon, but I've got a local video game designer who's helping me. I've got Regiment Gaming, which is one of the largest gaming guilds on the planet at this point. They're all military, and so I'm getting that on their thumbs as well. But yeah, like I said, while the crypto stuff is doing what it's doing over here, I'm over here with the tech stuff. The beauty of crypto is that it taught me that you can just do things and you don't need to ask for permission to change the world. That's what I'm doing. I hope that all of you can learn that same message from blockchain. If you've ever, especially now, if you've ever wanted to make anything, do it now. You've got nothing stopping.
Can you expand on that real quick? So you were talking about this in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
And people were asking you if this was like an explosion or a hard fork into
yes.
Yeah. So if you could just talk about that for a quick second.
Okay, so at one point I actually stopped the room while I was in Vegas, and I had all these builders kind of gather around me, and they quit talking. I had like my Socratic moment. But I was talking about what's coming. Right now, everyone seems to be a little bit hyper-focused on AI. You go to Y Combinator and look at the stuff they're requesting. It's all AI. And I get it. That's the cutting edge, so we think. But my thought is, what comes after this cutting edge? What is all of this going to enable? And so I'm looking at some of the side projects like HIIE, which has hit the pause button a little bit, but you essentially put in an idea and you can get a CAD file and just build whatever you want. And so it's almost like this YouTube moment. When YouTube happened, we saw stars come out. We saw stars get born. These new people just building kind of whatever they wanted in terms of media. And it was really new. It was really unique. But then a bunch of people said, hey, I can do that too. I can start a YouTube channel. I can start making content. It's easy now. You don't need to be a TV star to get on someone's screen. That's how it used to be. It wasn't so accessible to get a share of attention. It's going to be the same now for products. And so what I'm telling people is stop looking at AI, start looking at the product Cambrian explosion that's about to happen. We basically have Star Trek replicators already. That means you can kind of make whatever you want. You do not need to learn how to use AutoCAD Fusion 3D to make like a square model. You do not need to go to school to be an engineer. You do not need to. I don't know how to do wiring. I don't know how to do coding. I literally made a mouse. Anyone can do anything, and it's getting so much easier because you can pay people like me to build your idea for you. If I wanted to, I didn't have to build this. I can pay someone to print it and build it for me, and it's just going to get easier. So my thought is, in the next 1,000 days, you're going to see a lot of product stars be born, where it's like, oh, this person just like made this crazy product all by themselves. Normally, it takes a factory in China, but you know what? They got the machine running here, and then Razer bought it, Logitech buys it. Suddenly, these companies, they're not going to be hiring in house. They're not going to be getting IP in house. They're just going to go look at the market. It's going to be like YouTube, where there's more products than anyone could ever possibly use, just like YouTube videos. And so my advice to the audience is, if you're looking for what to do next and you're watching everyone build AI and copy and paste each other, get a step ahead. That's what the whole investing market is, right? You don't buy things after people have already bought it. You buy them before, right? So it's the same with any idea. You get in before. And make sure everyone calls you crazy too, because that's when you know you're on the right track. I remember in 2014, 15, everyone thought I was a dork, beanie baby buying tulip bulb Ponzi scheme moron, because I was buying up hand over fist this thing called Bitcoin. Everyone made fun of me. And I said, you guys get on it. Well, look at dorky, goofy Logan now telling you to get ahead of the product curve. Maybe heed the thing that's coming. I think I'm a few years in advance, but hey, you want a 3D printed drone? You just go tick it like it's a Google search. You know, that's the level of difficulty I'm talking about. What do you want to build? There's nothing stopping us anymore. You don't need permission. And that's what Bitcoin taught me so many years ago, 12 years ago. It's like, hey, you don't need the government's permission to make value, to exchange value, to make anything. And so, yeah, that's, again, it's part of the reason why I'm in this industry. It's why I'm so passionate. It kind of unlocked me. It's like, hey, if you want to go build a mouse, go build a mouse. Start a company. Live your life a little bit. But yeah, thank you, Chris, for the stage.
No, you're welcome. In fact, it's interesting because let's be very honest. It's a tough road in Web3 right now. A lot of teams have run out of runway. A lot of protocols have shut down. Exchanges are shutting down. VCs their vintages are not looking very good, right? Really bad return on investment. They're being very shy on what they're writing checks for. Yes, we have angels that are out there, doing the good work and trying to find builders that they can get behind. But the situations on what they're willing to fund to fight against the incumbents, and that's the reason why the Western Union thing kind of hit me differently, right? Because we're in a situation where there are people who are wanting so badly to advance this space, and they're doing a great job at it. They just don't have the resources to do it. And then someone like Western Union, incumbent obviously, they have tons of money, can just come in and just partner, and suddenly they are now the de facto leader in this space. If you're just out there on a team trying to build the next awesome neobank that you think will change the world, that's kind of got to be a punch in the gut, right? But this should be a sign that what you're building has value. Go out and build it anyway. Why? Because that's what most of this industry is built on. People just went out and did it. And that's the most beautiful thing about this whole subsystem in the world of what we call decentralized finance. All of these ecosystems, these blockchains, whether they're public or private, smart contracts, this whole financial undertone on all of these big institutions coming over here into a system that was built by the hands of the mighty without spending one penny of taxpayer dollar across the world. Not one iota of a piece of fiat currency went into the building of all of this. The reason why people want to control this is because, frankly, there are very few controls, but people aren't comfortable with the free market controlling everything. That means that self-custody has to be better. Self-custody, self-hosting, we have to kind of take that mantle and continue to do that, right? It's funny, sometimes we'll talk about people wanting to own their own ecosystem and, be off the grid and own their own defense system through guns or whatever there is in the shape of freedoms. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is the exact fight we're doing here in this space. We should recognize and, champion everybody to be able to create their own ecosystem, custody their own funds, and go out and find the things that will make them financially whole, right? Regardless of how you feel about digital assets, the reason why I still support it is because trust is a problem, right? And we pointed out multiple things today with Cantor Fitzgerald, with Cold Card, with all of these groups who tried to tell you that they were doing things to either save you or help keep the world going. And really, that's just a lot of lining of other people's pockets that are not yours. This is the reason why self-custody is so important. This is the reason why your keys, your coins should be at the front of your mind, and security should be number one. The reason we brought up DFlock is because you should be able to do whatever you want to do in a world where things are free. Now, life isn't fair, let's be honest. But the fact that sovereign governments are surveilling you to track your every move and build cases against you, whether they are true or not, is a problem, right? So that's the whole point of what today's show is about, the changing cold world. There are things that are happening, guys, that aren't great. But you, with self-custody, with going out, finding vaults, finding ways, finding brands that have evoked and won your trust through your conviction, still out there. Now, they're building their own moats, whether it be Jupiter, whether it be Coinbase, whether it be Uniswap. They're building their own moats. As much as that sucks right now, you're going to kind of have to lean on that until the true decentralization kind of comes through, you know?
There's some warmth out there.
Yeah, and obviously none of this is financial advice, right? Yeah. Anyway, we're way over time, and I appreciate you, Logan, for being here. We'll be back next week, definitely at the normal time at 1 p.m. Eastern, and hopefully the world will have something's going to happen. We'll see, right? And just stay safe out there. Be kind to everybody else. That's the one thing that I think yeah, that too. Kindness is free. Support is free. It doesn't cost you anything to be kind to somebody. It doesn't cost you anything to support somebody else in any way, even just like a smile, a thank you,
a like, a comment,
a follow, a subscribe,
even retweeting. Just a small act of kindness can go a long ways.
Yes.
Think about it.
That's our show for this week. No, you're fine. No, it's great. I think it.
I'm so bad.
What was chaos in the beginning has kind of refined, and now we're back on message. I mean, I was even going to wax about how the precession of the Earth and the wobble has changed our global view, because apparently what we are today was underwater many years before recorded human history, and the Sahara was a green, beautiful area full of things. So
I mean, a lot of you missed it, but I channeled Genghis Khan, and he told you to put pressure on your senator for clarity. You missed it.
Yes, and vote for clarity, or at least vote. Call your senator to tell John Thune to put clarity on the calendar for a floor vote.
Thune. Sorry. It's just one of those days.
Just one of those days. Anyway, take care of each other. Be kind. We'll see you next week. Yeah. We'll see you then. Thanks, Logan, for being here. See you next week. 07. Beacons up. Banks down. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week.